Welcome back, everyone, to the Reading by Candlelight Book Club at Molly's Cottage. I'm here with Jessica Seaborn, author of the brilliantly titled Isn't It Nice We Both Hate the Same Things, which features in the August General Fiction Book Box. Welcome, Jess.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's so lovely to have you here with us. And before we begin, I'm going to give you a little rundown about Jess. She was born and raised in Brisbane. She lives in Sydney. She works as a television and film publicist at Stan and gets to do exciting things like going to the Logies. Because I saw it on your Instagram and I'd love to go just to see the red carpet in real life. Before this, she worked for SBS and publishers Eleanor Numwin and HarperCollins. Yet, neither of them are her publisher. More for them. Because she is published by Penguin Random House. Her debut novel, Perfect Ish, was published in 2023, and her second novel, Isn't It Nice We Both Hate the Same Things, was published this month. Jess's writing has been published in the Sydney Morning Herald, Body and Soul, Ramona Magazine, The Courier Mail, and Sunday Life. That's a lot of success in only 30 odd years. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel really grateful. I've worked very hard for what I've achieved, but I also feel very grateful. Sometimes the timing works out in your favor.
It is a lot of hard work to write two books. So,
Yeah, it is. When you work full time, especially.
yes, exactly. And this book is such an emotionally powerful and perceptive study of adult friendships and shattered ties and starting over in your 30s. Could you please give us a quick spoiler-free pitch of your book?
Yeah, so isn't it nice we both hate the same things? Explores adult friendships, kind of in all its forms, lost friends, new friends, best friends, former friends, intergenerational friendships. So it follows Charlie, who's just left her husband, for reasons that are at first a secret. So she has been with him for a decade. She has left him and kind of seemingly lost all their mutual friends overnight because she is seen as the bad guy because she left. So she goes on a bit of a journey to meet new people and kind of redefine what she wants in life and who she wants to spend her life with.
It's such a fabulous premise. I love it. And the title grabbed me from the beginning. One, because it's funny, and two, because it's so much longer than your debut. I mean, tell me, was the first book's too short, so you decided to redress that with the longest title ever?
Yeah, the first one went through a couple of titles before we got to Perfect-ish. It originally was this kind of incredibly sad title called All the Lonely People. And I realized that was a song. There's a song called All the Lonely People. So I was like, oh, well, I better change it. So I changed it to Perfection. And then my agent said, what about Perfect-ish, which speaks a bit more to the plot of the story about a woman who's trying to kind of get her life together in 12 months, in essentially. And then the second one was it was always the title at the start. I did a lot of research into adult friendships. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I read books. I read a lot of online articles. I went and kind of trawled the depths of like TikTok and Twitter to see how people spoke about adult friendships. And a couple of times it came up that people said, friendship is just finding someone that hates the same things as you do. And it came from there. So it was the title the whole way through and it's never changed. But yeah, it's a long one, but it's hilarious. I think it's really funny. It's my favorite part
I
of the
think
book.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious too, because it's very, very true. It's the things that you bond over. And very often when you hate something,
Yeah, I know.
it's very bonding.
I know. I think sometimes when you're like, you've got a budding friendship, that's almost a turning point. You realize like, oh, we've bonded over something we both hate, and we've kind of always trusted the other person with that, particularly if what you dislike is, if it's a work colleague and there's something about the company you dislike, or there's a person, or just like something you almost trusting them with that kind of opinion. So I think it can be a bit of a turning point in friendships.
The cover is also fabulous. You must have been so happy with it.
Yes, and Nikki Townsend did an amazing job. Penguin did a great job. I knew they were going, they sent me like quite a few concepts and it was always title led. The title is so long, they wanted the title to be really like the main part of it. So it didn't take very long for them to finalize the cover. They were looking at pink or green for the cover. I loved green too, but pink just stands out a little bit more. So that's what we ended up with. But yeah, it's a beautiful cover. They've done a great job.
Yes. Now, so we've just talked about not liking the same things as friends. Do you think that hating the same thing can actually just create a stronger bond than liking the same thing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people you meet that can like the same things as you do, and I think there's something about having a great whinge with someone or event complaining about something. I think it makes something fun and funny. And I think I just think about, but even people I'm not that close with, or just kind of colleagues that are friends, like we just have a great laugh over things that frustrate us. And then you kind of move on and you talk about something else. So I definitely think there's something in hating the same things or just disliking them that can bring people closer together than maybe liking them.
I agree. Yes. And I love the way the book begins with the messages between friends about catching up that never happens, because this is something that happens to us all. And I have a very dear friend, and this is so embarrassing, but we've been trying to catch up now for almost a year.
Yeah. I know it's so realistic. I think, again, when I was doing research, sort of saw a lot of people talking about how adult friendship is just saying like we should catch up over and over and over until someone dies. And I think that really is it. And I have friends like that. So let's catch up. I've been a lot better. It was really my goal last year and this year to be the instigator or the organizer a bit more. I think in my 20s, if I could change anything, I really wish I made more of an effort to be the instigator because I was that person that was like, someone would be like, we should catch up. And I'm like, yeah. And then it just never happened. And I think that's a regret of mine. So the last couple of years, I've worked really hard to go, okay, these are the dates I'm available for like a lunch or a dinner, like what works for you, and just like really follow up. Like, oh, let's put the next one in the diary, and just being that person and just making sure I catch up with people and also meeting new people. The last couple of years, I don't think it ever stops that you want to meet new people. And I've got great friends, but I think there's always room for more people, more great people in your life.
I agree. Yes. I used to be the instigator when I was younger. And so now I just say to people, oh, are you going to such and such's book event? I'll see you there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard because everyone's priorities change, and I'm not a parent, so I imagine being a parent would make it just so much. I know that's another layer. Your this makes it harder. So, and as you know, I'm in my 30s, so a lot of my friends do have children, and my partner is older, and all of his friends have children. We are the last childless couple left, so it just makes it hard. You've just got to plan ahead and book it in the calendar.
Yes, and spend a lot of time doing dinner parties at each other's houses because it's easier, because then you can just put your children straight to bed.
Yeah, and the other funny thing I noticed too is, when we catch up with a group of friends who all have children, we're more than happy to host it, but we don't have kids' toys. We don't have a kids' room. We're not a kid-proof place. So someone else always ends up hosting because all the kids, it's the toys and it's the playroom and like we don't have that. So I always have just kind of said, we're happy like to have you, but like, like we don't have anything in them. So we never really, that's not something I never really thought of either. Is that you're just not being in that kind of point of your life. You're not really equipped to have everybody around unless it's their kids one day will be a bit older. Maybe that's okay. But yeah, that was something I never really thought of till I was in it.
I was definitely intrigued from the opening pages, like I said. What sparked the idea for the story?
I knew I wanted to write about adult friendship because it was something that I could relate to. Like I moved to Sydney from Brisbane and it took a really long time to make any kind of friends. And it's still something that I feel is so important to prioritize. So I knew it was relatable. Like I just knew I'd had so many conversations with other people, particularly people who don't come from Sydney who had been through the same thing. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to write this. And it took a really long time to work out the plot. I rewrote it 3 times and I binned like 140,000 words because it's a really lonely experience and it's a really solitary experience. Someone who wants to make new friends, that's them, they're alone, right? So if you wrote that in a book, you've got one character and
Yeah.
that's really boring to read and it's lonely to read. And so the pacing is slow and it's not fun. And so I was like, how do I write about adult friendships in a way that's still entertaining and uplifting and has other people in it? Like that took a really long time to figure out. And when I did my research, I found that there are two reasons why someone decides they need more friends in their life. One is if they're not living where they're from, which is how I kind of relate to it. And the other one is if you end a long-term relationship, whether that's a marriage or not. But ending a long-term relationship, someone does lose mutuals. And that was something that I put in the main character. She's kind of done both. She doesn't live where she's from, and she's just left her husband. So she's seen as the bad guy because they don't really know what's happened and she hasn't told them. And so she loses them all pretty quickly and she has to go on this journey. So it took a long time to get there in terms of the plot and the premise, and it took a long time to get it right, but we got there in the end.
Thank goodness. Now, this is your second book. How did writing book two feel different from writing your debut?
Yeah, it was a lot harder. I thought I really, hoped, and I've learnt now that it's not a case. I thought, oh, I've done it before. It's going to be easier, and the first draft's going to be not as bad. and it was terrible. It was awful. It was just a shorter time frame. Like, the first one, I just mulling over it and writing it in my spare time. And also it was COVID lockdown when I wrote my first, so I didn't have to commute to work and we couldn't even go anywhere. Nothing was open. I was home all the time. I just had all this time. So I was able to write quite quickly. And the second one, I was juggling it with a full-time job and commitments and seeing people. And I work really hard to not cut aspects of my life out for writing. So I still want to see friends and I still want to see my family. And so it is hard. It was a lot harder to juggle, really hard. And it just was a harder story to get right. But I knew what I was trying to achieve, and it felt ambitious, and it just took time. And to me, it's like a maze, and I had to figure it out. It's like a puzzle, so that motivated me. But it was a lot more difficult the second time. They say second book syndrome is a thing, and it really is. There's something about it. Maybe because I think my first book was a lot more of myself in it. My second book was a lot more fictional, and so I worked really hard on this second one in terms of like character development and kind of really capturing this larger cast of characters to make sure that they were really fleshed out on the page because a lot of it was fictional to me.
Yes, that makes sense. And yeah, I know second books are very, very hard. And hopefully book three will be easier.
Yes, hope. I mean, I've been working on the first draft of it, and it's been far easier. I think I just know my writing process now, and that is that I write a very thin, underdeveloped first draft. Like I plan it, and then I write it, and I just know it's going to be thin and undeveloped, and I know it's going to be a very kind of short, kind of 70,000 words, and then I will look at it like a puzzle and move it around and work out what's missing and add the chapters and move things, and then almost work on the character development second, and then work on the comedy after that. So it's just I just know what my process is now.
That's great. And are you a naturally funny person?
I mean, I don't know. I love humor and I love comedy. I love reading comedy. I love watching comedy. You know what I do though is I never bothered to put anything funny in early drafts, and that is because so much of my books can get rewritten or cut, and so you can have a hilarious joke in there or just like a quip, and then that scene gets cut and you just waste it and it doesn't move anywhere. So I don't bother about comedy in the beginning. And I actually make a lot of notes in my phone. If I'm overhearing a conversation and someone says something hilarious, I actually write, I've got a notes app, and I've got a lot of things in there that are so funny. And sometimes when I'm in the later editing stages and I've got a chapter that's really solid, I will just flick through the notes and go, is anything here could be inserted? Like, will it make sense in any of these conversations? And I actually just put the funny line in, just to give a little bit of comedy in there because I think comedy is like, it's the way some people say things is hilarious, and it's not something that I think my brain can come up with. Like I remember talking in a group of friends about, what would we do if we found out our partner had betrayed us or something like that. And my girlfriend's just kind of went really loud. She went, I would drag his corpse down the street. And I thought, oh my God, like never in a million years would I think of that phrase. That is hilarious. And so dramatic, but also just like so funny. And so I note that down. Like people like, drag his corpse down the street. I would put that in my notes app. And so at some point in my book, maybe that would make sense. And so the comedy comes much later. And a lot of it is because I've stolen it from other people. They've said something really funny around me and I've just written it down.
I love that. That's so good. And one of the lines I loved the most was in the middle of the conversation, I realized that being an adult is just saying, after this week, things will slow down a bit until we all die.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's come up at my workplace a lot. I literally, someone said that in a meeting today because, we're always so busy and then we go, oh, just after this week. And someone said it to me, she's like, I just feel like I keep saying after this week it'll slow down and then it just never slows down. I was like, that is what being an adult is, and that also is what a corporate job is, I think.
But I say that all the time. All the time.
Oh, it's just this
Yes.
week. And then something pops up or something happens unexpectedly. It's just being an adult really is just like, oh, it'll get better. And then it just is still just as busy.
Yeah. Like I'm in my 60s. I'm still waiting for life to slow down. We don't even have children at home anymore. So, yes, it never slows down, people. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Now, without giving too much away, what do you hope that readers will take away from reading your book?
No, I really wanted to tackle an experience that is inherently very lonely, but in a really entertaining way. At the end of the day, I want people to be entertained. Like, I really hope this is a book that makes people smile and laugh, but also explores something that is quite lonely and sad at times. But also the other part, in terms of like a plot, it's just, to me, friendship is quality over quantity. And that's something the main character Charlie needs to realize is she's always just surrounded herself by people. And that's, a coping mechanism to distract herself from, her loneliness and not kind of grieving things that have happened in her life. So she needs to work out that, it's okay not to have a lot of people around you as long as you have the right people.
Ah, absolutely agree. And your characters are just so believable and engaging. And I hated how Charlie's so-called friends treated her after the breakup. And it's difficult to navigate friendship after you move states and leave a long-term relationship. And you gave her both of those things. But it gave Charlie an incredible, sometimes overwhelming, opportunity to discover who she really is and what she really wants out of life. And I think that you did that in a really wonderful way.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it took a long time to get the plotting right. Because, I thought, oh, I'm going to write a story about a character who loses her friends and she needs to make new friends. You're like, okay, well, chapter one, she loses her friends. And then she goes on a journey and she does all these things. But like that gets you to like chapter eight. So like what happens in the rest of the book? And the other point that my publisher made is that when you start a book and if you take your main character and you put them in different settings, one after the other, you actually alienate the reader because you never get to like really have time to spend with the main character in a certain setting. So if
Yeah.
that's like a workplace or their family or their friends or their partner, like whoever they're with, whatever that world is, you need to spend a little bit of time with it so you fall in love with the main character. If you just keep moving them around, there's this distance and they don't really get. And so I was like, okay, well, that makes it even harder. How do I explore someone who's lost everything and makes new friends without doing any of that? So it took a really long time, but we broke it into three parts. And to me, part one is about losing friends, part two is about gaining new friends, and part three is about testing those friendships. I think in the end, we got there. It just took a little while.
And was Charlie the character you enjoyed writing the most?
Ooh, I mean, I do love Charlie, but sometimes I love the side characters that allow for some comedy. So I love Graham. Graham is the radio presenter. She's a radio producer, so she works with him. He is amazing. I really wanted to explore an intergenerational friendship in this. I think you do not need to be friends with the same people the same age as you or even close to. I think it allows for a lot of comedy. And a workplace is where that comes up. So Graham obviously is in his 60s. And the other thing is she has two colleagues who are in their 20s, early 20s. There's Dora and Ivan, and they were a lot of fun to write, particularly Ivan. This kind of really kind of hilarious but like brutal manner that some Gen Zs have, where they're just kind of like brutally honest about everything and like unapologetic, which I kind of love and respect. And so I wanted to get that through with them. So I think her colleagues actually were probably my favorite characters to write.
And who were you the most protective of when you were writing them?
Oh, that's a great question. I think her sister, actually. I think her sister was who I was most protective of. I love her sister. Her sister Naya is just this kind of powerhouse of a woman who's married to a man who's always injured. And that to me is hilarious. That's actually inspired by my partner, Tim. Tim is just always injured. And like it's like, and legitimate injured, not like the boy who cried wolf, like legitimately like just steps wrong and just like suddenly has a sore knee. Or like, at the gym, like his hip suddenly doesn't feel great or his back's sore. Like he's always at the physio. Like there's a line in the book where she's like, why is a man in his 40s always spending his money at the physio? And I was like, I think I've said that before about Tim. Tim's in his 40s. So I took that in and I just felt for Nye. She's just kind of an absolute trooper with four kids, four little kids that she's looking after, and a husband who's kind of like a little kid sometimes. He's always injured. And I just thought that was a beautiful dynamic to explore with the sisterhood. So I think I'm most protective of her. She was always on the page from the start. I never really had to edit her much. She was pretty clear in my mind.
Now, you've had an amazing career before adding author to your resume. Has any of it inspired your writing?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I work as a television and film publicist. Nothing really that close to the job has made its way in. I mean, there is a scene in the book where they're at an awards ceremony, which, I've got experience in. And the radio thing, I mean, I'm not a radio producer, but I've spent time in radio and I work with a lot of radio producers, so it kind of came in, but didn't really inspire it, to be honest. I one day, and my second book, my third novel isn't going to be this, but maybe one day I'll write. a novel set in like a corporate setting. I don't know what that would be yet, but I think a lot of my life would probably be influenced in there because I work full time in a corporate job, and that's what I've done for kind of 12 years. So maybe then it'll come out. I just don't know. I haven't really thought about what plot or premise to me is inspiring enough to write a story that's predominantly set in office.
Now, this book feels like it would be perfect for an adaptation to the screen, and you work at Stan. So, is there any chances of that?
Oh, I mean, fingers crossed. It would be amazing. What I've learned, not just from my own writing, but from working in Stan, is that these things take a really, really long time. And there's a lot of hurdles from getting something to the screen. It's got to be picked up by a production company, and it's got to have all the people attached, the script writer, the producer, the director, that has to be picked up by a network or a broadcaster like someone like Stan or Netflix. But also, the big part is funding. It needs to be funded, and that can be screening bodies or it can be kind of other organizations. There's just so many steps that you have to kind of meet for something to make it to the screen, and so many fall over. So many, so you can sign the rights away and then it just never makes it. But so yeah, it's a bit early to know. I would love it. It would be amazing. Obviously, any writer's dream would be to see it on screen. But if it does happen, I think it would be quite some time before it did.
And our readers love to hear about an author's process, and you work full time. So, what does your writing routine look like?
Yeah, I mean it's up and down. I just have to write before work, so that can be a 4 or a 5 a.m. start. I am struggling at the moment in winter. I'm much better when it's not so cold and rainy, to get
Same.
up. But I'm at 50,000 words at the moment on something, and I started that at the start of June.
Oh,
Like I've already been plotting it. I spent a long time, like 3 or so months, really figuring out what that story was going to be. And I wanted to write the first draft over the winter, which isn't going to happen. I'll probably, hopefully, have the first draft done by the end of September. But yeah, I just chip away at it. I don't think of the bigger picture. I just go, I'm gonna, a really, really good day for me is 1,000 words. And they're not good 1,000 words. Like they're just rubbish kind of, they follow the plan and they get the story down and they get some dialogue done and it's just me moving through so that when I do have a draft, it's really rubbish, but it's something and it's there and then I can just move the pieces and I can make it better later. I can make the writing better later. I can deepen the character development later. I can make it funny later. I can get the characters on the page better. I just need to get the movements down and the actual physicality of the characters, like where they are and who's in the scene and who's not really supposed to be there and looking at it and going, I'm actually missing a bunch of chapters to lead us to this point. So what are those chapters going to like I just need to get the mechanics down and I know that about myself now. So I just kind of get up early. It's not every morning and I try and get 1,000 words done on a Saturday and 1,000 words done on Sunday and I can sometimes smash that out pretty quick and sometimes it takes longer, but you do it eventually after a few months you've got a somewhat of a first draft.
that's wonderful. I love that. Now, what is the best writing advice you've ever received?
Oh, it's actually the best advice I've got when it comes to editing, when you've got a chapter or a scene and you are just looking at it, is the advice was each scene, and a scene is different from a chapter. You can have many scenes in a chapter. If the character moves out of the room and someone else comes in, that's a new scene. If they're in a car and then they get out of the car, that'd be a new scene. So each scene has to move the story forward in at least 3 ways, or it's not working hard enough. And I think if you don't do that, you can get those chapters where it feels like filler,
Yes.
feels like fluffy chapters. It's because it's not working hard enough. And I always look at that. So once I've done the first draft, I'll then move things around. I'll work out what's missing and I'll add the chapters in. I'll then do the next draft. And then once I've done that and it's like pretty solid in terms of the chapters, I look at them from a scene level and I go, how is this? And I will do an Excel spreadsheet and I'll go, how is this moving the story forward? And I will write it down. And if I'm clutching, if I'm like, oh, we learned something about XYZ and then I can't think of anything else, I'm like, that's not working hard enough. And so it either needs to be merged with something else so that you still get that part, but it's somewhere else that's working hard, or you need to cut it. And so that to me is an amazing piece of advice that really helped me mostly when it came to editing.
That's fascinating advice. You sound like you've got a very logical brain.
Yes, very, very practical, kind of logical brain. I look at it, I have no issues cutting. I mean, I cut 140,000 words from the second book. It just is what it is. But yeah, it's really, you have to really get, because nothing that frustrates me more as a reader is when you're just reading a chapter that is just filler.
Yeah.
They're just taking someone from one to the end and there's nothing happening. Or it's just like banter between characters. Banter's great, but to me, I was like, okay, but like nothing's happening. You could take this banter out and nothing would be different. And that to me frustrates me as a reader. So I don't want to do that as a writer.
That's great. Now that book two is launched, what are you working on next? You said that you've got what, 50,000 words?
Yeah, I want to explore sisterhood in the next one. I think exploring sisters is fascinating for me. I'm plotting something that's kind of over one weekend and it's kind of strange sisters coming back together. But I'm 50,000 words in. I think this first draft will be around 75,000. And then I'm hoping to have something really quite solid maybe early next year, early kind of like March would be great to show my agent and my publisher. So I'm just taking my time then. But yeah, I wanna explore sisters. I've done best friends a lot and I have done sisters, but they've never been the focal point and I wanna focus on. I think it's a really interesting dynamic to explore because you are kind of obliged to be in each other's lives.
Yes.
Um, and you could be so different. Whereas friends, you can just dump your friend, but it's a bit harder when it's your sister.
Yes, I have three younger sisters.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and my husband also has three sisters. And we often say to people, people go, "Oh, must be so nice." And I always say, sisters can be overrated.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. Three young, four of you, that's a lot.
Do you have sisters?
I do have an older sister. She lives overseas. She's
Oh, so that'll be make it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she's lived overseas for a long time. So we do catch up. I'm going over at the end of October to see her.
That's
We see her like
lovely.
once a year or so. So yeah, but it's I have an older brother too. It's just a different dynamic, I think, when it's a brother and a sister, but two sisters is I think quite fascinating. So I think I will need to spend a lot of time getting the characters right and how they relate to each other. And it's been hard because there's multiple sisters. There's one sister who I have just got straight away. I know her. I can be in her head straight away, and I love writing her. The others I'm really struggling with, and it's just because I don't think I can jump between them really easily. So I think, well, this draft I'll get her right, and the next draft I'll get the next sister right, and then the next. Yeah, I just kind of I think it's ambitious, but I'm feel challenged by it, so it's exciting.
I think that Sisters is a very interesting
Yeah.
topic. Yes, I've just finished watching Outrageous, which is
Oh.
the BBC of the Mitford sisters, and so there were six of them, and you know, they had very different politics and very different thoughts about each other. And Nancy Mitford wrote about her sister's politics, and two of them didn't speak to her for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think that Sisters will be really interesting. I'll look forward to that.
Yes. Well, if all goes well, hopefully like a couple of years or so, and maybe it'll be on shelves. But yeah, it's plugging away in the background.
Fabulous. And believe it or not, that's time on our interview.
Oh, thank you so much. It was been great to chat.
Thank you all for coming along tonight and watching us live. If you are watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think in the Reading by Candlelight Facebook group or on socials. And I'd like to thank our author, Jess Seaborn, for chatting with me and for being Reading by Candlelight's August General Fiction Book Box author.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Wishing everyone happy reading and goodbye until the next Reading by Candlelight Book Club.